Welcome to the Aerospike Summit session on cloud workloads at petabyte scale. Aerospike is a high-performance database that has achieved its high performance by optimizing access to underlying hardware built by Intel in both the CPU, network, memory, and storage, etc. It is also a database that is cloud native in the sense that it can work really well on many cloud instances on EC2 in Amazon Web Services. As you know, many workloads and databases are migrating to the cloud. Amazon Web Services is the leading provider of cloud technology and services, and its EC2 instances use Intel technology extensively. In this session, we have Merit Stitston from Intel and Amit Shah from Amazon Web Services presenting their view of how the Intel technology works well on Amazon EC2 instances on the cloud. Over to you, Merit.
Hello, Srini, thank you very much. Appreciate Aerospike and yourself for inviting us to come speak today. Next slide, please. So today, the number of drivers, what are the trends? What's happening? Well, of course, COVID is a large one today. It was something that most of us did not see coming, but has yet impacted the last 18 months of our lives in dramatic ways. Distilling the information that we need from that takes strong, powerful systems, such as the one that Aerospike, AWS, and Intel provides. Another key area is edge computing. This one is growing rapidly in the marketplace today. You're going to be getting billions of individual sensors across your network, sending data in. You have to process it, be able to make sense of it, and then have it actionable. That's where applications like Aerospike make a difference. You'll be embedding artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning into those to help you glean the key parts of that data that are the most important, that are going to help you drive your business. And lastly, that business part is how do you take advantage of it? Now, everybody is not a petabyte scale company, yet you still want to be able to get that business value. You want to be able to take your company from where you are today, from perhaps a small business to a medium, or a medium to a large. Aerospike, Intel, and AWS will help you do that. So we all face pretty much the same threats. Different industries suffer differently, but all of us suffer. One of the main ones is security. When you look at any one of the SIM tools or security information event management tools, you've got massive amounts of information coming from all your systems of record, all of your endpoints. You have your cloud systems, being able to maintain and manage those. How do you take and ingest reasonably that data and being able to, again, make sure you can manage your environment in a steady state so that you don't have unexpected issues? And if they do, how can you react very quickly to those issues? Aerospike helps in all of these. Now, these are only a small subset, but these are the main areas when you look at the challenges that we're faced in a cloud infrastructure that you have to be prepared. So you have to be able to take in vast quantities of data, analyze it, and then again, make it actionable. Intel, Aerospike, and AWS all work together by really refining our tool sets so that you have the right compute, storage, and networking components underneath that deliver that value ultimately that the business is looking for. So Intel, a lot of people see us as just being only that on-premises enterprise. However, we're working with thousands of smaller cloud providers across the entire globe, whether it be in Europe, the United States, South America, Asia. We're everywhere. We're embedded deep into the roots of all of these companies, providing the best technology we can, whether that's a CPU, persistent memory, storage, or networking. And then the majors, the 7 major companies, the 3 of which are the largest that sit here in the United States, AWS, Microsoft, and Google. So we have worked very closely with AWS to be able to provide those technologies that are going to deliver those insights. As I mentioned, PMEM, or persistent memory, where you can now put terabytes of data that's persistent in memory. So you now have a far more performant application. But it's not just memory. It's how do you take and process that data? There's a lot of analytics today that are running inside of these systems. That's what's key and central to being able to provide a powerful platform. That you analyze this data, that you provide those data models the horsepower underneath by which you can get those insights. So at Intel, we're not just a CPU company. People know us for that. A lot of people know AWS as originally a reseller, bookshop. You could buy things. But AWS in itself is a part of that larger Amazon organization, but there's so much more than what they're known for. So we say move faster. That is all of our Ethernet. We do a lot with Ethernet. We have Intel Tofino, which is an ASICs switch processing, and then silicon photonics, where you can move 400 gigabits per second up to a mile or 10 kilometers in distance. I mean, these are really important technologies that help make all of the rest of it work. Of course, store more, our Optane, whether it be in memory or it being on the new SSD format. And then lastly, all of our ability to process, from custom ASICs, GPUs, FPGA, and our ever popular Xeon line of processors. This is what we do. We work with our partners, and we're grateful to have partners like Aerospike and AWS that we can take and collaborate and come up with very interesting things. Besides being a techie, I enjoy this stuff. It really is interesting to see how we can take what is a pile of information, lots of data, and turn it into something valuable. I especially like it when I work with healthcare or finance. Those are two areas that are really interesting to me. I worked 8.5 years in healthcare. Knowing that the work you're doing is really touching people's lives is valuable. So it's beyond just simply the technology that sits underneath. It's the value in what we're doing to help the rest of humanity or our business partners. So as we said, we worked very closely all the time with AWS. Now, this is not an all-inclusive list of AWS instances, nor are they services. I'm a senior solution architect, or AWS, and on that, you look at the workloads that your customers are going to have. As a solutions architect, you're not just presented with, here's an application, give me some storage, memory, and compute. That's not how it works. How it works is that we all have to analyze what is the workload and what is it trying to achieve. So with AWS, Aerospike, and Intel, we have all these different mixes of instance types that you can work with that are the best that support your business need at that moment. Is it compute optimized? Is it memory optimized? Is it storage optimized? Is it network? So being able to provide you with all of these options allow you not only to have the best platform to run your application, but also choose the one that helps the best TCO for you and your business so that you're not overspending, yet you're getting exactly the performance that you're looking for. These are essential aspects that a lot of time has been put into to make sure that we can take and deliver all of those different values that you're looking for. And if you look at the screen, while that might look like a lot, once you add on the additional services, managed services that are provided by AWS in this area, using things like Aerospike, your options are nearly unlimited. So with that, I'd like to go to the next slide and talk to you about some of the use cases that we've worked on and helped them with. So these are just a small sampling of the companies that we've worked with. But when you look at what's available to us, let's take the trade desk, for example. Just recently at AWS reInvent, the trade desk provided a view of what was going on. So they're a real-time ad buying service. And they were running a ultra high throughput ad purchasing platform. So Matt Cochran presented, he's a director of engineering. Now, here are a few things. When you look at this, now again, everybody's not going to be petabyte scale, but even if you're small, you want to know that you can grow from where you are to something that is at petabyte scale. So you look at it and you say, they run 800 billion requests per day with sub 20 millisecond response time. That's phenomenal. You look at, they have 30 million updates per second. And lastly, 800 million queries per second. So the throughput is astronomical. These are the kind of things that when you look at an application that's going to support your business, you'll absolutely want to look at Aerospike as being a company that's going to deliver that type of performance so that you're assured the fact that you will be able to succeed in what you're doing. And then with that, we ran a POC. And that POC, of course, we ran it on AWS with our very good partners and Amit Shah. So with that, I'd like to say thank you, Srini, and Amit, I'll pass it to you.
Okay, thank you, Marai. So let me go through what is it that we really enabled working with Aerospike and Intel at AWS regarding the petabyte scale. So what I'm showing here is the overall architecture for Aerospike, the hybrid memory architecture. Now, Aerospike is a distributed real-time database capable of high throughput and extremely low latency. And HMA architecture, the hybrid memory architecture, leverages flash in such a way as to provide predictable low latency. And here I'm talking about sub-millisecond latency to access data essential for real-time solution. This architecture does not require the data to be stored in the DRAM, and hence it enables a significantly smaller footprint as compared to in-memory database. Aerospike has several configuration options, and few that are shown on this particular slide are the hybrid DRAM flash. That one has indexes stored in DRAM versus the data resides in flash. The second one here is the hybrid persistent memory and flash, where the indexes are stored in persistent memory and then the data resides in flash. And the third one is the all flash configuration, where the index and the data both reside in flash. So in general, customers have many choices, and these choices can be picked based on what is the SLA that you're trying to meet, what is the kind of TCO model that you're trying to pursue. In all of these configurations, Aerospike provides a significant server footprint reduction compared to other comparable real-time solution. In fact, in this particular example of 1 petabyte database, the Aerospike cluster was run just using 20 EC2 i3 EN instances and was able to support millions of transactions per second at very low latency. So let me take you through the journey of how did we make that possible. Next slide, please. Okay, so the Petabyte database had an uncompressed size of 1 petabyte, comprising 500 billion objects of 2 kilobyte each. In real world use cases, there will always be replication, at least across a minimum of 2 availability zone. And hence, what we really incorporated is assume 2 copies, and the actual fully replicated data because of that was 2 petabytes. Compression was used to optimize for the storage capacity, because ultimately we want to fit everything into the right instances. With a compression factor of 4 enabled by Aerospike, 250 terabytes of primary copy of the data and 250 terabytes of secondary copy of the data was stored in a compressed form on AWS. We modeled 2 different production workloads, one which was 100% read, and then another one which was a mix of 80% read and 20% writes. Next slide, please. So we chose 2 AWS instances for running this particular benchmark. The first one I would want to talk about is the C5N9XL. So this one represents the client initiating the workload demand. C5N is really a compute and network optimized instance, enabling up to 36 vCPUs with the 9 extra large instance type based on Intel Skylake processor, and packs in 96 gigabyte of DRAM with 50 gigabyte of network bandwidth. Now for the database, for the storage of the database, the 1 petabyte database, it was compressed to 250 terabytes, and that was run on i3-EN24XL. i3-EN24XL is a storage optimized instance with 96 vCPUs of Skylake and 8 high performance NVMe SSD for low latency and high random IOPS of up to 2 million IOPS. i3-EN provides the highest storage density up to 60 terabyte per instance and at the lowest dollar per gigabyte on EC2. It is powered by AWS Nitro system to deliver 100 gigabits of network bandwidth. The database, the 1 petabyte database, was replicated across 2 clusters of 10 i3-EN instances each. Each cluster was enabled for Amazon Virtual Private Cloud to ensure that the resources were logically isolated from each other. Aerospike all-flash configuration, enabled with compression, and then using the high-density storage instances like i3-EN made it possible for us to fit the whole 1 petabyte database with a replication factor of 2 in just 20 i3-EN instances. Next slide, please. The initial database was generated with 500 million records with uniform distribution across 100% of the key space. This was done to rule out any caching effects due to hotkeys. The system was then primed over several days by running a generic workload of reads and write. Now, priming of workload is really important to ensure that the storage and the database resources are suitably randomized and background jobs like defragmentation are triggered as they would occur in a normal production environment. On such a prime system, the 2 workloads were each run for 4-hour interval, and the observed throughput and performance numbers are presented on this particular slide. As you can see here, by running 1 petabyte database on just 20 EC2 i3-EN instances, the workload delivered an impressive 3 to 5 million transactions per second with sub-millisecond latency. Now that is impressive. So at this point, let me hand it over to Srini, who will summarize the key takeaways.
As you've heard from Merit and Amit, there is a lot of technology which Intel brings to the table. It is, I would say, ubiquitous in virtually in all of the clouds. And what Amazon Web Services has brought to the table is the ability to package this world-class technology from Intel into EC2 instances, which enable the running of extremely high throughput, low latency, real-time systems in a practical way on these instances. Aerospike has been spending over a decade in optimizing our technology to run well on Intel hardware. But also, we've spent a large amount of time and resources in running on the cloud. What you saw here in the benchmark that Amit presented was the ability of this optimization to bring real value to real-time applications. The fact that you can run a whole petabyte of data with multiple millions of transactions per second, both reads and writes, with sub-millisecond latency on just 20 Intel-based EC2 nodes on Amazon Web Services, that's pretty much pushing the envelope to reducing the cost of ownership of such real-time applications for all users. So what this means is anyone can now afford to run such applications using Intel and Amazon's technologies, as well as combined with Aerospike. I hope you have found this presentation useful. And thank you, Merit and Amit, for an excellent presentation of your technologies, as well as how it can be used with Aerospike. Thank you, Merit, and thank you, Amit, for an excellent presentation. I think we have time for a couple of questions. I think the first question is to Merit from Intel. Merit, for mission critical applications running in the data center today, what's Intel's advice for moving those workloads to the cloud and also continuing to meet performance SLAs?
I'd say that in my history or career, it all comes down to starting off with the use case. Use case gives you more of the softer aspects of what the project is, what you're trying to create, what the outcome is that you want, those type of things. You also want to be able to look at it and say, based on that information, that's going to define the workload. What are your source systems that you're going to be pulling data from? How much is it that you want to be there? How do you want to process, store? That all becomes the workload information. So it defines a lot of the physical infrastructure that you're going to run on, whether it's on premises or in the cloud. So you have to understand what aspects or those key KPIs that you're trying to drive, how much data, is it going to be real time in that aspect? And cost always, you have to stop and look at cost. What is it, the difference between running on premises and in the cloud? Another thing I'd say is you got to make sure you have the right skill sets, that you have balanced those things as well. So it really is looking at the key metrics of the workload that's ultimately important, and those source systems, and that will help guide customers to the decision points they need to make in whether they want to stay on premises or move to the cloud.
Okay, thank you, Merit. The next question is for Amit from Amazon Web Services. Amit, can you please comment on any additional collaborations underway between Amazon and Aerospike to support high performance workloads on large amounts of data?
Sure. So there are many areas of collaboration that we have ongoing. Like today we have them, and then continuing for the future. But at least a couple of them that I would want to point out. The first one is regarding the ACT testing. So Aerospike has a very unique way to test SSDs for consistency and latency under increasing throughput. This test developed by Aerospike is really effective in evaluating performance of cloud storage optimized solutions to ensure that we can meet the real-time big data needs. So what we really do is that we use Aerospike's ACT test as part of our ongoing platform validation for EC2 and Outpost to ensure that AWS is the most optimized platform for Aerospike workloads. So that is one area that we've absolutely embraced the technology that Aerospike has put forward and enable it across our portfolio. The other area that I would want to point out is Aerospike and AWS did a full cluster level testing of Aerospike workload running on AWS Outpost. And the reason we did that was to ensure that the customer get the same experience on Outpost as with AWS EC2. This also ensures that Aerospike customers in geos where data sovereignty is of significance have alternatives, especially if they, for any particular reason, EC2 is not the platform for choice, then they can absolutely deploy Outpost and get the right level of performance with the Aerospike workload.
Okay, thank you, Amit. I think that brings us to the end of this session. I hope you found this useful, especially the fact that Intel is everywhere on the cloud, and the way Amazon is running more and more high performance workloads, as well as the benchmark itself, which demonstrate how you can do that with a good TCO. And I think all of this is interesting. We do plan to publish the work on the benchmark as a white paper at some point in the future. So stay tuned for that. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Yes.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.